So the next question type that we have for today is the taxable value computation. We've already seen net GST computation. Now we'll have to look at taxable value computation. Before we go to taxable value computation, let's look at a quick example. Okay, just to ensure our understanding is correct, I'll give you a quick example to solve. Look at this example question. It's from RTP. When the set of manner of utilization of credit changed, they put up a question like this. So I want you to fill up the net GST part alone and then compute answer for this. I'll read the question for you. So for you to quickly fill up, it's an RTP question. Okay. Mr. X, supplier of goods, pays GST under regular scheme. The amount of input tax credit available and output tax liability under different tax heads is as under. Head on output tax liability is given. IGST is 2000, credit is 4000. So they have excess 2000 credit. You have to decide how you want to set off this. Then CGST, your liability is 800, credit is 2000. And SGST, your liability is 2500, your credit is only 500. Compute the minimum GST payable in cash by Mr. X. Make suitable assumption as required. So do you have to compute output tax liability and ITC here? No, it's already given. What is that you need to compute? You need to only compute the net GST payable. Okay. So finish that net GST computation part alone, which will be particulars CGST, SGST, IGST. First, output tax liability minus ITC of IGST minus ITC of CGST minus ITC of SGST. Then you get net. But what is that you have to ensure? Look at this. You'll have to, end of the day, you'll have to get minimum GST liability payable in cash. The question states that it should be minimum liability. This is what I was trying to tell you. Tell me what is the minimum liability in here? Do you want to carry forward any ITC? Yes, you will carry forward CGST credit. Correct. So why do you do that? Because outward tax liability is 800, 2500, 2000. So first you do the ITC set, IGST set off against IGST 2000. Okay. After that, how much is left out? 2000 IGST is there. You have option, do you want to set off in CGST or SGST? But you would set off in SGST because CGST already has 1200 credit. But wherein SGST credit is only 500. So to get the minimum liability, your set off should be to SGST, then CGST against CGST, SGST against SGST, which will give you zero liability, and 1200 SGST can be, sorry, CGST can be carried forward. Clear? Now let's go to valuation chapter. What is that we have in valuation chapter? I'll give you a quick summary of the chapter so that we can start working out questions. Okay, so section 15 of CGST Act 2017 talks about what is value. Okay, so what is value under section 15? So section 15 says only this much. You can see it on the screen. Section 15 says value is nothing but transaction value under section 15.1 plus items to be included in value under section 15.2 minus discount under section 15.3. Okay, so value means transaction value. But there are things to be added and there is something to be reduced. What is to be added? Items to be included in value under section 15.2. So 15.2 is listing out 5 different type of expenses or 5 different type of money that you collect from the customer. This, if you have not or not already added to the transaction value, for computing GST, you need to add it to the value. And if you have given any genuine discount, what is genuine discount? They have defined how a discount can be reduced. The discount should be discount under section 15 subsection 3. Then it can be reduced. So the net value is what you will pay GST on. So they have put two conditions for you to make this approach for the valuation. One is that the supply should not be between related person. They're saying if the supply is between related person, they don't trust the transaction value. So there are other methods in which you can compute value, which is not part of your intermediate syllabus. Then they said price should be the sole consideration for the supply. What do you mean by sole consideration? It should be the only consideration for the supply. The meaning of only consideration for the supply is that if apart from price, if they're getting some kind of an exchange, okay, so they're doing exchange or some kind of an activity wherein they're having some other consideration, then your money paid will not be the full value for that particular supply. To give you an example, say I'm selling a mobile phone and he's coming for an exchange of an older mobile phone. So mobile phone MRP is 10,000. He's giving an older mobile phone wherein I've given this mobile phone for 5,000. So can I say that GST is payable on the transaction value, that the price of 5,000 only? The answer is no. Because when you do an exchange, you're getting not only 5,000, another phone also is something that you're getting. Right. So they're saying that don't adopt this transaction value method when it's the case of an exchange or barter or things like that, where apart from the price, there is some other consideration coming in. So they said for you to adopt transaction value, price must be the only consideration. That's where the word sole consideration for supply comes in. So to quickly recap once again, value under section 15 is nothing but transaction value under section 15.1 plus items to be included in 15.2. They have listed a set of items to be included minus discount under section 15 subsection 3. Okay, so this is the net in which you will compute the value. So here, this is the value on top of which you will compute GST. So generally, valuation questions are not clubbed with ITC. They generally ask you compute the net taxable value. Not everything would be included in taxable value. So that's the computation that you will have to have. Now, what is transaction value? Okay, so they have listed on all these things inside this. So section 15 to learn. It's one of the easiest chapter to learn. Like just a one-page chapter, I can say. The provisions are super simple. But based on this, there are a lot of questions that can be tested. Okay, so chapter 5, section 15 has 3 sections for you to learn. Section 15.1, section 15.2, 15.3. Section 15.1 says what is transaction value. Do you have to learn these provisions? Yes. For this chapter alone, I'll strongly recommend all of you to learn this section word by word. Reason being, we will learn it now itself, here itself. Because all those questions that we are going to solve in this particular chapter, we need to ensure that you write these things as the working notes. So section 15.1 is transaction value, which is price paid or payable for the supply. So whenever you have a question, you're writing 15.1, you're writing this price is nothing but the transaction value, which is the price paid or payable for the supply. Then there is a note which is important here. What it says, notional amounts, like imaginary amounts which are not collected, which are waived. The supplier says that I don't want this. Okay, say you're purchasing a mobile phone, you're getting a mobile phone cover together with it, some 500 rupees worth cover, but the seller says that cover is free, that I don't want anything for that cover. You have to pay GST, imagining that 500 rupees is worth the product is given, so let me ask him to pay GST on that. No, these are not collected. The supplier is waiving an amount and some amount is not payable, then it need not to be added to the value. Now, what is section 15 subsection 2? items to be included in value if it's not already included. I'll tell you the logic behind this section is being done. So there are a lot of cases where the supplier might want to reduce the value. Okay, say I'm a supplier of mobile phone. The mobile phone is worth 50,000. Okay, when I'm selling this mobile phone, 18% GST should also be charged. So which means that effectively I'm selling this mobile phone to the customer at 50,000 plus 18% GST, which makes it 59,000. As a supplier, would I be interested in reducing GST or increasing GST, or GST does not make any difference for me? I'm a supplier. Anyway, I'll collect GST from the consumer. Would I be still interested in reducing GST? Or will I'll rephrase the question. My value of supply is 50,000. As a supplier, if the value is less than 50,000, my GST will get reduced, right? GST is levied on the value. So, as a supplier, will I be interested in reducing the GST, or I'm indifferent for the GST part? Okay. Why would I reduce GST? Because I don't have to pay from my pocket. No, I have to just collect it from my customer. The price, that's the point. See, if I reduce the GST, say there are two people who are selling the product. One person is selling the product and at 10,000, another person is also selling the product at 10,000. If one guy is paying 900 as GST, another guy is paying only 500 as GST, his product price is 10,900. This product price is only 10,500. So people will come and purchase from 10,500 guy. So always GST is going to be something that will increase the price. So I want to reduce the GST so that I can sell it at lower price, more people will purchase from me. So to reduce this GST component, what is that people will do? If I'm collecting 50,000 from a customer, I'll say that not the entire 50,000 is the value of supply. Only 40,000 is value of supply, 10,000 I'm collecting for some other reason. So I'm collecting 50,000. Now what is that I'm trying to tell the government? Not entire 50,000 is the value. 10,000 is some other payment. So the some other payment is what the government is always confused about. So what if people collect this amount and say that it's not part of the value? So they're still getting the amount, the GST is reduced. So government said people will try to evade taxes, or people will try to structure the transaction so that they can pay lesser GST by this particular method. To ensure that GST is being paid on the correct value, to ensure that the GST is being paid on the correct value, the the government, what they have done is that they have brought in section 15 subsection 2 and said if there is some other payment collected by the supplier. Okay, so end of the day, anything that I'm going to talk about in 15 subsection 2, is it collected by the supplier from the customer? Is it collected by the supplier from the customer? Yes, these are all collected. And is it already included in transaction value? If it's already included, no problem. But what if it's not already included in transaction value? You're collecting it separately. What is that you should do? Add it to the transaction value and then apply GST on top of it. Understanding? Are you understanding the logic of it? Okay. So we have how many items to be added there? We have 5 items to be added there. Okay. First, taxes, duties, fees, and cess and charges levied under any law other than GST and cess is charged separately by the supplier from recipient. They're saying all taxes. Let's go to an example to understand this. Okay, look at this example on the screen. We all know ITC Limited. Okay, they sell cigarettes. Now, when ITC is manufacturing cigarettes, for tobacco and tobacco product in GST, there's a peculiar provision. What is that? Is the special provision for tobacco and tobacco product. In tobacco and tobacco product, did we take out excise duty? No. Tobacco and tobacco product still has excise duty. Apart from excise duty, we have GST. So there are multiple taxes because tobacco and tobacco product are one category of product which government wants to levy maximum taxes. There's a name for this category of product in indirect taxes. These are called as demerited product. Like tobacco is something that government do not want people to consume, but people are consuming. To reduce the consumption, government wants to increase the prices. How are they increasing the prices? By increasing taxes. So they levied excise duty and GST on tobacco and tobacco product. Now you think about 100 grams of tobacco and tobacco product manufactured by ITC. How the taxes structure would come? Say they manufactured tobacco worth 10,000 rupees. Assume they have manufactured tobacco worth 10,000 rupees. Okay. Now excise duty will come first, 10%, which is 1,000. Apart from that, we have GST and we have compensation cess. Okay, GST compensation cess is also collected on certain set of product and it is being continued. Okay, so this GST compensation cess is also even today it is continued. It initially was introduced for 5 years. Now it's agreed to be continued. Okay, so the first question that we have is on what value should I levy GST of 18%? Option A 10,000, option B 1,000, option C 11,000. On what value? It should be on 11,000. Why? Because this excise duty is a tax that I collect from the customer. So finally, how much will I collect from the customer? I'm collecting 16,060, which means from the customer I'm collecting even that excise duty. So if I'm collecting excise duty, I cannot say that my value is only 10,000. Excise duty is a separate amount I'm collecting from the customer. No, any taxes you collect apart from GST and compensation cess. So remember, both GST and compensation cess are levied on the same 11,000. Don't think that compensation cess is levied on GST amount. No, compensation cess is levied on the same value under section 15. Okay, so value under section 15 would be 11,000, not 10,000. So how do you substantiate this? Because as per section 15 subsection 2 clause A, excise duty on tobacco has to be added to the value before I compute GST on the tobacco and tobacco products. Why? Because if you look at our provision, it says any taxes, you look at the first provision, any taxes, duties, fees and cess charged other than GST, if it is collected from the customer, should be added to the value. Now there is another question that we have. What about TCS under Income Tax Act? Should it be added to the value? So there's a circular clarification which says TCS under Income Tax Act does not have the characteristics of tax mentioned above, hence it need not to be included in value. If you look at that as an example, I'll give you a quick recap on how it works. Say Mr. Raju is purchasing Honda City, okay, from Perfect Honda. Now Honda City value is 15 lakhs. So any car if you purchase which is having value above 10 lakh, the dealer Perfect Honda is supposed to collect 1% additional tax collected at source at income tax TCS and deposit with IT department against the PAN of Raju. So I have written here that 15,000 is deposited with IT department against Raju's PAN. So this is to ensure that income tax department is thinking that a lot of people in India are having a lot of money, they're not paying income taxes. So let me collect 1% on this 15 lakh, so that Raju, if he gets some income, he will definitely get a PAN because he needs to have a PAN for purchasing a Honda City. And the Perfect Honda will deposit money, and if Raju does not have enough income, let him take the refund. Okay. So the question that Perfect Honda has is, now Perfect Honda will collect how much money from Raju? 15 lakh of for the Honda City plus GST plus TCS of 1%, which is 15,000. So on what value Perfect Honda should bill or collect GST? Is it on 15 lakh or 15 lakh 15,000? Because all the taxes other than GST has to be added to the value is what they were telling. But here you have to understand the TCS under income tax does not come under this category. There's a circular clarification on that. Okay. Now, what is the next one? Direct third party payment by recipient on behalf of supplier in relation to supply should be added to the value. This is also very simple and straightforward understanding. What it says. Okay. This is a straightforward example that I take. In this example, our friend Radha is a businesswoman. Okay. Radha wants to purchase a machine. Radha is purchasing machine from this big machine manufacturing company called as Caterpillar. Okay. So Radha went to Caterpillar and said she wants a certified machine. So Caterpillar said, see, 1,10,000 is what I'll charge for a certified machine. Radha said, okay. I'll pay you 1,10,000 rupees. Now Caterpillar said, no, 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 no. I don't want 1,10,000. You pay me 1 lakh. I have appointed a chartered engineer to do the certification on the machine. You pay this 10,000 rupees directly to the chartered engineer. Now, Radha paid 1 lakh rupees to Caterpillar and 10,000 rupees to chartered engineer. Now, Caterpillar is saying what? My value for the supply is only 1 lakh. So, how much do you think would be the value of supply for Caterpillar here? Is it 1 lakh or 1 lakh 10,000? The answer is 1 lakh 10,000 because this 10,000 rupees which Radha paid directly to the engineer would be what payment? It will be payment under 15 subsection 2 clause B. What is that 15 subsection 2 clause B says? Direct third party payment by recipient. Recipient is making payment to a third party, but on behalf of the supplier in relation to the supply. So I made a supply and not entire amount is not paid to the supplier. I paid some amount to some third party. That is also to be added to the value. Okay, so that is the understanding that you need to have. But what if Caterpillar said, okay, what if there's a small deviation in here? Caterpillar said, I will give you only machine. I don't sell certified machines. What do you do? I'll give you the number of the guy who do the certification for you. You take the machine from me. Okay, so Caterpillar says you take the machine from me. You directly go to the chartered engineer. Rather, you go to the engineer. Let the engineer do certification for you. You pay him the money. What's the big deal? Now, in this particular case, what will be the value of supply for Caterpillar? Radha paid 1 lakh to Caterpillar and Radha paid 10,000 to chartered engineer. Will it be 1 lakh or 1 lakh 10,000? Why it is not 1 lakh 10,000 here? Which condition inside this section is missing? All the 4 sentences are important here for us. What are all the 4 sentences are important? Which is the one which is missing here? One sentence I've given us 4 points. They said direct, you should remember this, direct third party payment by recipient on behalf of supplier in relation to supply. It is not on behalf. So how do you check whether it is on behalf or not? You check if the payment is not made, whom this chartered engineer will catch. In the first example, where Caterpillar says will supply you certified machines, the chartered engineer will catch the Caterpillar. But in second example, the chartered engineer will catch Radha. So thereby, understand it's not on behalf of Caterpillar the payment is being made. Okay. Now let's look at question number 1. Question number 1 here. It's an MCQ question, straightforward, simple question. I'll read the question for you, then we'll try to get an answer for that. With reference to the provisions relating to transaction value under section 15 of CGST Act 2017, which of the following is not correct? A. Central excise duty will not be included in transaction value for supply of tobacco. Is it correct or it's incorrect? There are four options given. We'll have to say it is incorrect. Reason, we just had seen an example. Excise duty is a tax under which section? It is a tax under section 15 subsection 2 clause A. So it should be included or not to be included? It should be included because it is a tax other than GST collected from the customer, should be added to the value. Understanding? Okay. Then municipal taxes paid by tenant will be included in the transaction value for the supply of renting services. Should it be included in the value? Yes, because this is again 15 subsection 2 clause A. So this is it included. So the sentence is correct. Any taxes other than GST, if it is collected from the customer, should be added to the value. Then entertainment taxes included in movie ticket will form part of transaction value. What is the speciality for entertainment taxes? Entertainment taxes. So can state government collect entertainment taxes now? Can state government collect entertainment taxes now? No, it is merged under GST. There is no entertainment taxes that can be collected by state government now. But local authority can still collect entertainment tax. So which means, suppose my movie ticket value is for 200 rupees. There is entertainment tax by corporation or municipality, that is at 5%. Then there is GST 18%. On what value GST of 18% will be levied? Will be on 210, because this 10 rupee collected by local authority will be also collected from the customer. So how much will the customer will have to pay? What is the price that the customer has to pay? 247 rupee 80 paise. So how much will be this? This is 37.8. So this 10 rupees should be added to value because under section 15 subsection 2 clause A, this is taxes other than GST. So is this sentence correct? What does that sentence says? Entertainment taxes to be included in movie ticket will form part of transaction value for computing GST. Is it correct? Yes, this is correct. Now the third one, the fourth question, fourth option. Customer makes payment of freight which is payable by the supplier. Supplier was supposed to pay freight and customer makes this payment directly to the service provider. However, supplier does not include this amount on the invoice. Such amount will be included in the transaction value of the supplier. Should it be included in value? Yes, this is what is section 15 subsection 2 clause B. Direct third party payment by recipient. customer is the recipient, makes payment of right, which is payable by supplier directly to the service provider, and it is not included in value, we should include the value. So which is the option which is not correct? It is option A. Is the correct answer. Okay, now the third one is close C. What is the next thing that needs to be added to the value? Incidental expenses incurred by, this is something that is repeated a lot of questions. We will learn this particular sentence. Incidental expense incurred by supplier. Okay, so we'll go word by word. So it's an expense incurred by supplier in relation to supply. So I am making supply of mobile phone. I had some expense. Like what expense? Testing expenses, packing expenses, commission paid on the sale. Because these are the expenses at the time or before the goods are ready for delivery or supply of service. And I'm charging it from the recipient. I'm collecting it from the recipient, and that needs to be added to the value. So any expenses incurred by the supplier in relation to supply till the time goods are ready for delivery and it is collected from customer will be added to the value. So let's look at an example. Say, you know this company called ID Fresh, right? So ID Fresh is having great packing. So they outsource the entire packing. So they have idli dosa batter, which is otherwise sold for 100 rupees. But 100 rupees is the price that is available for their batter. So they are actually going to this packing agency and they're paying 10 rupees for doing this beautiful packing. Okay. So for each batter sold, there is 10 rupees that they're incurring for the packing, additional packing. So they're selling it to the customer for 110 rupees. Why? Because 100 rupees for the batter, 10 rupees for the packing. Now the question is what will be the value of supply? So they're collecting 110 from the customer, but ID Fresh is saying no, 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 my value is only 100. 10 rupees is a packing expense which is directly I'm taking as a service from somebody else. So I should pay taxes only on 100. So what will be the value? It will be 110 only because this 10 rupees is an incidental expense under 15(2)(c). Now there are questions on that. We will try to solve a question immediately. Okay, look at question number 10. AKJ Foods Private Limited gets an order for supply of processed food from a customer. The customer wants the consignment tested for gluten and specified chemical residues. AKJ Foods Private Limited does the testing before the supply and charges a testing fee on for the same from the customer. AKJ Foods Limited argues that such testing fees should not be forming part of consideration for the sale as it's a separate activity. Is the company's argument correct in the light of section 50? Is it correct? Those category of questions are called as practical theory question. Those practical theory question. Okay, please take a moment to read this question. Okay. So any practical theory question that you wanted to answer, first you write the provision. Do you have to write like provision of the law underline? No need. You just write as a separate paragraph or separate sentence, separate line. Enough. As per so and so section, this is how it comes. The next paragraph or next sentence, you can start it in the next line. Keep one line gap there and say that in the given question, it's like this. Then give a one line gap and then write that hence it is like this. Hence so and so is so and so. Okay, this is how we'll write. Let's write the answer for this question number 10. Which is the provision that we allow to repeat there? Which is the section, guys? Please put it on the chat box. Section 15, subsection 2, close C. what it says. As per section 15 subsection 2 clause C, incidental expenses, please write it, incurred by, so who is incurring this? Incurred by supplier. For what? In relation to supply. Till goods are ready for delivery and charged from recipient should be added to the value. Please stop and then read this section once again. Make a mental note of what is there on the screen. Make a mental note of it so that you can recollect it in your examination. The time that you are the concentration that you should have for reading this question is that by reading this right now, you're going to store it in your brain so that you recollect this exactly like this in the examination hall. Okay, so read it in that order. As per section 15 subsection 2 clause C, incidental expenses incurred by the supplier in relation to supply till the goods are ready for delivery and charge means collected from the recipient, should be added to the value. Done. What is the second part of this answer that we would write? We would write this part is called as what? Provision of the law. Yeah. Next, we have to write a comment. Do we have to write it as comment? No, I'm just trying to write it there so that you remember what is that we're going to do. So you leave a line, or you start as a paragraph and you write, in the given question, you make a reference to what is there. What is the, then you try to understand what is the scenario that is given to you to present. AKJ Foods Limited does the testing before supply of the same. Okay, so they are testing their food for gluten and then they're getting a certification on the same, and they're paying some testing fees and getting it from the customer itself, and they are not including this in the value. So the party is AKJ Foods Limited. In the given question, AKJ Foods Private Limited incurs testing fees which is an incidental expense, and it is collected from the customer. What is the conclusion? Hence, it should be added to the value under section 15 subsection 2. Oh, see, okay, so we have not written. Ideally, we should write of CGST Act. Okay, yeah, forgot to write that. Then you don't need to write. Once you write, that is enough. Okay, should be added to the value under section 15. And company's argument, correct or incorrect? Incorrect. So this would generally fetch you 3 marks. Generally, these kind of questions will come as 3 mark question. Done, everyone? Can I have a confirmation on the chat box? Okay. Now, clause D says interest, late fee, or penalty for delayed payment of consideration should be added to the value. Okay. So there are two notes we have, which we will go through when we are doing questions. We will come back and then try to understand it in detail. So they're saying that any interest or late fee or penalty for delayed payment of consideration should be added to the value. So this whole idea of interest needs some kind of a clarity. Okay. So I'll just make a note on how you understand interest in GST. I will make a summary note. There are multiple places where interest is being used in GST. There could be two type of interest. Because in any question this fellow comes in, you should be able to write answer. So you should know this summary. So there could be two type of interest for me. One is interest on loans / advances. There could be another interest on delayed payment of consideration. So what we do is we look at the provisions in a different lens now. Like we're not going A, B, C. We'll try to consolidate and then try to approach it for the exam. So there could be two type of interest that we would come across in our GST discussion. One is interest on loans and advances. Okay. So first point you need to understand in case of interest on loans and advances is this interest on loans and advances is a separate financing activity. Like say assumes Anjana is coming to me and asking, sir, I would like to borrow 50,000 rupees from you. I give her 50,000 rupees. This is a separate independent financing activity. And when I'm collecting this 50,000 after a month or 2 months or 3 months, I will collect it together with interest. So this interest in GST, is it taxable or exempt? It is exempt by our exemption notification. Exemption notification is notification 12 bar 2017. It is exempt. Okay. Now what is the complication? Interest on delayed payment of consideration is taxable, but how is it? How do I separate an interest on delayed payment when from interest which has a separate financing activity? Because interest on delayed payment of consideration needs needs another supply to be there. And it is not a separate activity from original supply. and this will be added to the value of original supply and under section 15 subsection 2 clause D and GST is payable. See, I'll give you an example to understand this better. Say, first case I told you, Anjana wants to borrow 50,000 from me. She borrowed 50,000. She's paying with interest. Is that interest taxable? No, it's exempt. Now, what is she wants? She wants to buy a mobile phone for 50,000. So instead of taking money from me, she's saying, give me the mobile phone. So I gave her a mobile phone and she does not have money to pay. She says that I'll pay you after 6 months. Now she's supposed to pay me 50,000. Okay. Now after 6 months, she's paying me 50,000 plus some interest because she has delayed on paying consideration for my mobile phone. So this interest here in this example compared to the first example, interest here is embedded into supply of mobile phone. So what is the value for the supply of mobile phone? 50,000. Is that subject to GST? Yes. So there is a transaction which is subject to GST there. So there is a taxable supply, another taxable supply. I'm not even saying another supply. So there is another taxable supply. So this interest on delayed payment of consideration means there's a taxable supply, say supply of mobile phone, and you're not paying for this mobile phone on time. You're paying after 6 months. So there's a delay. On that, I'm charging an interest. Is that interest subject to GST? The answer is yes, because that will come as the second branch. That will be added to the value under section 15(2)(d). Is this making sense to all of you? Like these two interests can come into your examination in different occurrences. Is it clear? Can I have a yes on the chat box if this is clear? Any confusion? If you have any confusion, you can unmute and then ask me. What's if you want one more example, I can give you. I can go through this topic once again also, no problem. But understand there are two interests that we will deal in GST. Okay, now look at the last part. There are two type of subsidies that we have in GST. Again, subsidy is also a bit, tested in multiple questions. There could be subsidies which are directly linked to the price. There could be subsidies which are indirect. Okay. So what is a direct subsidy? Say, for example, government is coming up and then telling you that if you purchase an electric vehicle, I'll give you a subsidy. So do you get the subsidies into your bank account? No, these subsidies are given to the seller. So what seller does when they receive the subsidy, they reduce the product price. So all those subsidies which are directly linked to the product, then these are called as direct subsidies. Now, if the subsidy is given by government, it can be reduced from value. You don't have to pay GST on, like the supplier need not pay GST on the subsidy that is given by the government on the product. But if it's a non-government subsidy, it cannot be reduced, and if it's already reduced, it needs to be added back. Similarly, an indirect subsidy like subsidy for setting a plant and all cannot be reduced. Okay, so what is an indirect subsidy? Subsidy which is not, the subsidy is not saying that you have to reduce the product price. These are indirect subsidies. So let's look at an example. Straightforward example we can take. Say Ola electric scooter. Okay. So Ola, when they manufacture electric scooter, the price of this electric scooter is 2 lakh rupees. Government has this subsidy scheme from electric scooters. They call it FAME 2 subsidy. So government came up and said like, okay, so everybody who's purchasing an electric scooter, they get a subsidy of around 80,000. Okay. Now, who's paying this 80,000? Ola is Ola gonna get like only 1,20,000? No, Ola is gonna get entire 2 lakh. So Ola's bank account, if you look at, they got 1,20,000 from the customer. They got 80,000 from the government. Now, should Ola pay GST on 1,20,000 or on entire 2 lakh? They need to pay GST only on 1,20,000 because it's a government subsidy. If it's a non-government subsidy, then that needs to be added to the value. That's the understanding that we have in 15 subsection 2 clause E. Now, suppose Ola has this huge factory that they set up called as Ola Future Factory in Tamil Nadu. Suppose government is giving 10 crore subsidy for buying plant and machinery. So they said, Ola, I'll give you 10 crore, you go and buy plant and machinery. Now, can this Ola reduce this 10 crore from whatever amount they collect from the customer for selling of their motor vehicle? No, that cannot be done. So this is an indirect subsidy. It is not a subsidy. See, giving subsidy for setting up a factory is not a subsidy on the scooters. So this is the difference that we basically have. Suppose the subsidy is given by Tesla, not government. So can I reduce that particular 10,000 discount, the 10,000 subsidy given by Tesla from the value? No, because this is a non-government subsidy. This is the understanding. So the questions can come on that order. So we'll look at a question. Question number 11. A philanthropic association makes substantial donation each year to a reputed private management institution to subsidize the education of low-income group students who have gained admission there. The fee for these students is reduced, thereby coming to 3 lakh a year compared to 5 lakh a year for other students. What would be the value of service of coaching and instruction provided by institution to low-income group students? Please read the question and tell me what will be the value. It is 5 lakh itself. Why? Because is it subsidy? Yes. But is it a government subsidy or a non-government subsidy? It's a philanthropic association, which is a charitable trust, which is not a government subsidy, which is a non-government subsidy. Can I reduce it? No. So how do you write answer for this question? Again, please write it with me. Let's write the provision. So first we have three paragraphs. First paragraph would be provision of the law. Please write again. When you're writing by thinking about the provision. You can always refer back to the provision, but you're thinking about the provision so that you're able to do it as if this question comes in the examination, you will be able to recollect it. So as per section 15, if what if you write only section 15, you don't write 15 subsection 2 clause E, you will still get full marks. So in the examination hall, if you're having even slightest confusion, is it clause A or clause B, or is it clause D or clause E, don't write clause, just write section 15 or write 15 2 if you're very sure of CGST Act. May 17. We can try only direct subsidies on product saved from government can be used from value. Enough. Then you write the comment. The given question subsidy the course is given a non-government organization and that subsidy not be used from value. Hence, value of supply will be 5 lakh. Done? Okay, now let's look at the next question. Mazda Banners, an advertising firm, gives its customers an interest-free credit period of 30 days for payment. Its customer ABC paid for supply 32 days after the supply of service. Mazda Banners waive the interest payable for delay of 2 days. The department wants to add interest for 2 days to the value of supply. Should the notional interest be added to the value? Which section? Now, what is this question talking about? Please read the question once again at your end. So they're saying Mazda Banners, an advertising firm, gives the customer interest-free credit period of 30 days. So if the customer pays within 30 days, no problem. Okay. If the customer of ABC paid for supply 32 days after, so how many days they took for making payment? 32 days, which means is there a delay? Yes, 2 days delay is there. So can they collect interest on that? Yes. Did they collect the interest? No, they waived the interest. So suppose if the supplier is not collecting interest, so supplier is waiving the interest, should that notional interest, the imaginary interest that should have been collected, should that be added to the transaction value is the question. The answer is no, because what is transaction value? Here the answer would be as per section 15 subsection 1 of CGST Act 2017. What is the definition of transaction value? Transaction value is the price paid or payable for the supply. Transaction value is the price paid or payable for the supply. Hence, notional amount which are waived and not payable need not to be added to value. In the given question, banners waived interest for 2 days and not collected the same. Hence, it is not to be included in view. And department contention. What's the conclusion? What was the question finally asking you to comment? Finally, it's asking uh, the department wants to add the 2 days to value of supply, interest, notional interest. Should it be added? Departments, contention, departments, contention is incorrect. You guys with me? So our promised time is over. So I'll just quickly recap and close the session for today. Tomorrow, definitely we're going to have session from, can we have the session from 6 to 9? That's what I thought will be like easy for that, so that you get like maybe an hour or two in the evening for you to study other subjects or probably revise this and then close it. Chapters. So 6 to 9 should be fine, right? Yeah. So we'll start sharp at 6. So if you guys had any technical issues and all that, please ensure that you take it up with me, so that for the next 14 days it will be easy for us to look at. Okay. Now I'll do a quick recap. Every day it's important. You know that if you have attended my regulars, you know that I recap, then only I'll close. So today also I'll recap. Let's think through what and all we have done today. We've looked into what are the important topics that we will have. We've looked into the approach for this batch and the importance in which we should take up this batch. Okay, so everybody who's sitting in this particular batch should get definitely an exemption in taxation paper. The worst paper, we prepare for the worst paper. Okay, that's what we're going to do. All the questions, like, I'm going to take a lot of questions from finals, different different books and different questions that I've framed, so that we have a comprehensive question bank with us. That's the main objective. Okay, so I'm going to add a lot more number of questions that what you would have already seen. Okay, so I'm just starting off with the easier ones, the ones that you're familiar with, so that you know that you get that writing practice. You don't want to feel like, oh, I don't know anything kind of on day one. So that's what I'm trying to achieve today. Anyway, so we've looked into the two type of questions. One is net GST computation. We know that we have to have a table. So the first would be computation of output tax liability, then input tax credit, then net GST payable. And we understood we should be, I've made a mistake by taking ITC the value. So these kind of mistakes can happen actually. So ensure that but in the book, when you're referring notes books, it might not happen when you're stopping tabs likely. So ensure that you're very careful and dedicated when you do the questions. Okay. Uh, then we have learned about the manner of utilization of credit. IGST, IGST, IGST again, CGST, IGST, any order. IGST fully over, CGST, 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 IGST, SGST, 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 IGST. This is the manner in which you have to set up. Remember those working notes that we have written. Those are important for us. Then we have gone ahead and then looked into valuation chapter. We said value under section 15 is section uh, transaction value under section 15.1 plus item to be added under section 15.2 minus discount under section 15.3. So once you get this idea on 15.1, 2, 3, then we can go ahead and compute what is the value. There is computational question on value. So we've looked into 15.1 transaction value, which is price paid or payable. Notional should not be added. Then we have looked into 5 things to be added to the value if it's not already added. And we have looked into questions relating to that. First, taxes other than GST. TCS under income tax need not to be added. Then direct third party payment by recipient on behalf of supplier in relation to supply will be added to the value. Then we said if it's not on behalf, no need to add. Then incidental expenses incurred by supplier in relation to supply charged from the recipient should be added to the value. Then we've looked into and said Interest, we have summarized how will we treat interest. If its interest is on delayed payment of consideration, add to the value. If it's an interest as a separate financing activity, exempt, will not pay GST on that. Loan interest, not GST, but interest, because I paid late, will be added to the value. Okay, so we'll have to see that check. Okay, then we said subsidy, only government subsidy on product can be reduced. If it's other subsidy, you cannot reduce it from the value. This is the conclusion that we have. What you should do, go home, read valuation chapter textbook if it's possible. Otherwise, look at our chart notes, read it once, look at all the questions that we have done, and we will come back and solve rest of the questions from valuation chapter in the next session. I'll give you the full schedule on the group, and few people have asked me for only the day in which they give the books on puja, that day alone, to have a different schedule. We'll see how that works, and after that I'll finalize this schedule. Okay, so thank you for your patient listening. I hope you will study further, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye everyone.